with keeping the standards above the state code. The state is just a minimum requirement. Hot Springs took the next step to go farther. The gauges will test, but the digital gives you a printout. You can go back. You're supposed to keep the records for 7 years when you test these. It's not something that's sticking up out of the ground on a lawn sprinkler. It's actually, if everybody could go to the school, you'd want an RPZ on everything. And you'd want qualified people testing them. So, you know, Hot Springs has took the step to say we're going to be better than the minimum, and therefore, I'd hate to see it go backwards.
Any questions of Mr. Kunkel? Thank you. That completes those who have signed up to speak on this issue. We'll have discussion amongst directors.
I have a question.
Yeah, Director.
What initiated this coming before us, Lance?
We'd gotten some discussions actually amongst staff as far as the digital and analog portion, and really it was one of the things that staff had reviewed and looked at, that it would be something to possibly amend that section.
But why?
The requirement they felt was a little more stringent, obviously, than the gentleman had mentioned in the state code, and really when we were discussing any type of issues that we had that would lead us to take that step that would make it a little more stringent, no one could really recall what brought the change about. So in doing that, it was an attempt to, one, possibly decrease costs for residents as they have those RPZs inspected, but then also to look at amending that section to take a requirement that's an exception and make it kind of across the board and competitive with other cities.
Have local plumbing groups said that they would do it cheaper if they could use the analog?
Not specifically. That would just be something we would probably lead us to a cheaper price, but we're not exactly for sure.
Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. In looking at this issue and looking at the Arkansas State Plumbing Code, the Arkansas Plumbing Law 1738-302, Code 1951, and annotated Title 17, Chapter 38, the state, none of these areas require this digital testing, and looking at all of our surrounding cities and other cities our size, they do not require it. And currently, the other cities and the states do require the tester to be certified. But as a result, also, the city is supposed to, in our water utility staff, keep up and track testing of the RPZs in our plumbing system. So on all of this, currently, RPZs are being installed and tested, are not being tested, but they're being installed and taken out by individual property owners, by people not getting a permit, not even on the radar of the city, because they don't have the digital equipment. They're bypassing other requirements, and they're not being permitted. And so we can't track if the tests aren't being sent in. But we're supposed to have, we have a listing in our system of all the RPZ valves. So as a city utility, we're supposed to be making sure we get a copy of that test annually. And we haven't been doing that, to my understanding, and that's being looked at too. But these other items, the city attorney and city management are going to address administratively, but the requirement of the digital, because so many that don't have it, they're bypassing all the other procedures. And the reason property owners are doing that is because of the difference in price. So requiring the digital has imposed a much higher price to property owners that do not want to pay that. So we have as much doing it outside the regulations as inside. So it would be better to have it tested because, as the gentleman said, it's very important. It's for our safety and the Department of Health is the one that administers this certification for these testers. So it's very important that we do get proper testing, whether it's digital or analog, versus not having it tested at all.
So you're of the feeling that compliance would be
support it.
enhanced? We'd have greater compliance
Yes, sir.
if we expanded to analog?
How do you make the assumption or assertion that there are price differences in fees when, in fact, everyone who's able to test an RPZ valve today is required to have a digital? So I don't understand how we have just gone directly to an assumption that because an analog is cheaper, that the fee will be less.
I'm going by what I know from different neighborhoods in my district that have not been getting it tested.
That has nothing to do with digital versus analog. It has everything to do with compliance, and it appears to me that we have not followed through on making sure that those RPZ valves are registered and, in fact, tested every year. So I'm going to say again, I don't understand.
I know what
Parks.
they were told. Even some plumbers, I'm not saying plumbers have done it, and they said that's why they weren't doing it, because they couldn't afford the digital equipment. So from that standpoint, I'm saying.
So we have whole businesses going out there and changing RPZ
I'm
valves?
saying we have some that they say plumber. I don't know. I haven't looked at their licensing. That are, but they're not applying for permits.
I'm just uncomfortable with that anecdotal information.
Well,
Again-
The tester is certified.
I think there's no question that there are people out there that do it on their own.
Absolutely.
And that's in violation of our code and state code.
Right.
And that's on us for not cross-checking that and being able to enforce that provision of the code. And now that everybody knows we haven't been doing it, I suppose there'll be more people that will do their own RPZs. So we better get on the horse. But whether it's digital or whether it's analog, something needs to be reported
Right.
to the city that the city can then cross-check on their records. And if that's a digital printout that's a tab from the machine, that's one way of doing it. If it's analog, I suppose we're going to have to come up with some form for them to fill it out in triplicate so
Yeah, we'd
they
have to
can
look
give
at
the
Should be a permit.
the house owner, the city, and bill collector. But
Should be a permit.
But I know in 2003, the city of Hot Springs did implement the RPZ requirement as well as the backflow prevention device for sewer. And in fact, if you do not, we have a policy that if you do not have a backflow prevention device on your wastewater lines, then we're not going to be responsible for any backflow within the structure. The fact that the city went beyond what was required under state code, I was involved, but I don't remember what the thought process was back then. But we did go beyond what the minimum requirements are.
Mr. Kunkel, you have something to add?
Yes, I'm 3 days older than dirt. I've been here forever. The RPZ program has suffered, and I don't like to blow anybody's horn, but you have a man now that's trying to straighten it out. People haven't been getting them tested. Nobody cared. Brad Burks has took the bull by the horns and made a few people mad at him, but he's trying. He needs all the support that he can get because, like I say, it's been bad in the past. And there's a lot of people say, I'm not having that thing tested. Well, if you went to the school, you'd want it tested. So I'm saying that we've took a step in the right direction, and I'd hate to see it go backwards.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
I personally am not comfortable on this either way. I think staff needs to take this back and bring it back to us. I think more work needs to be done before I can make a vote on it.
Are you making a motion
Table.
to table?
I'll
Motion.
second it if she's making a motion.
Got a motion to
I
table?
make a motion to table.
And we have a second.
Second.
Can we have a duration on the table?
I need about 30 days.
Oh, yeah,
30
we need a
days.
time frame.
What kind of time frame you need?
30 days?
Yeah, give us 30 days to
Okay.
review. I do know, and I want to let the board and the viewing public know that we are checking RPZs. We may not be getting those that are doing things on their own, but those that call in, we do have a plumbing inspector who's Brad Burks. He's relatively new with the city, but he's really taken it, as the gentleman stated, and he's trying to bring that program back into compliance. We do have a hammer when it comes to that. We can cross-check these particular RPZs by our sprinkler or our irrigation code. So we know which ones are supposed to be there, and as we go through this process, it may be that if we don't have that check and balance in place, that irrigation meter's turned off. So we will address the issue. We'll bring it back at a later date and let you know what we find.
Thank you. Let's, since our meetings are not necessarily 30 days apart, the first meeting in March is March 5th. Today is March 5th, or I mean February 5th. So you want to,
I'll be out of town March 5th.
out of town March 5th?
So if we could have March 19th?
March 19th?
March 19th.
So we table it
Yes, please.
until March 19th. That's okay?
Thank you.
Director Weatherford?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's fine with that? All in favor? Motion to table until March 19th, signify by, do we do a roll call vote or a voice vote on it?
Voice vote would be
Voice
fine.
vote, okay.
Yeah.
March 19th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Table is approved. That was our last action item of the evening. Board of Directors, items for discussion. Any items for discussion? I'll just make one comment. I think as Director Clark asked, what brought this on. If I recall correctly, I think about 4 to 6 months ago, we had a gentleman approach us under the public comment section and
Yes,
raise
we
this
did.
issue, which may have planted the seed for the staff to kind of readdress this. So, and we do appreciate people coming to public comment and giving us their thoughts. And a couple weeks ago, we had some public comments on an issue, and following that meeting on Facebook, people said, well, the directors will listen, but not necessarily take any action on it. To the degree that on this particular issue, we had an individual come forward, make comment, the city looked at it. We appreciate the feedback we've had from Mr. Gerald and Mr. Kunkel, and we want to do the right thing, and we know that people can look at similar issues or look at an issue and have differences of opinion on that, and that's what we're trying to balance here. Certainly public safety is of utmost importance to us, and we appreciate the insights that have been provided tonight. So thank you, Director Clark, for tabling, and Director Weatherford and the staff will work on this. So any other comments from directors? We had no individuals. Pardon? Yeah, I'm the only one. I don't think we had anybody sign up under public comment, did we? We did?
Mr. Estridge.
Yeah, we did. We have an individual signed up under public comment, but at this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion, please.
Thank
I
you.
move that we adjourn for the night.
Second.
We got a second by Director
Yeah.
Garcia. All in favor of adjourning? What's remaining in your seat for public comment? All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.